All right, Wayne Allyn Root with Bill O'Reilly. Bill, how are you?
I'm the same, Wayne, which is a tragedy for everybody.
You are the author of the greatest book, Killing the SS, so don't kid around. You are a great commentator and a great host on Fox News, and we love having you on. It's a great honor to be with you every single Monday and Wednesday. Thank you. President gave his big speech last night. I watched it. I know you watched it. The narrative from the left is this is all a manufactured crisis and that it's immoral, quote unquote, immoral to build a wall. What say you, Bill O'Reilly?
Well, I did the instant analysis right after both of the presentations on Newsmax, and my initial take has changed a little bit. So stepping back after almost 24 hours, I think President Trump won the confrontation because that's what it was. It was a struggle for hearts and minds for people who aren't engaged in the political process, Americans who don't pay attention. So he got 8 minutes to lay out his vision on why there's a problem at the southern border. And I believe he did it fairly effectively. So I'm not going to run down the stats, but there is danger for all Americans to having a border that allows millions of people and tons of narcotics to cross. So I think a 5-year-old child would say, yeah, that's not a good situation. So Mr. Trump was able to get that message, and then he said, look, I want to put up a wall, a barrier, because it'll make it easier for the United States authorities to at least cut this down, all right, the unbelievable intrusion we have. Again, it makes sense. So then you cut to the other side, Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer. They don't really address the border situation. They just said, oh, it's mean to have a government shutdown. It's mean, and we can negotiate, so let's open the government. Well, all right. I mean, it's fairly simplistic, but then anybody would be saying the government was shut down because you, the Democratic Party, won't contribute a little bit of money, not a lot, but about $5 billion to the wall. And it's kind of unreasonable in the face of the problem we have down there. So that I think that fair-minded, not ideological, not party apparatchiks would say that Trump really got the upper hand.
Good, good. I think we should start calling them deniers, personally, because they call us deniers if you don't believe in anything they believe in, like climate change or anything like that. Why not call them border deniers? There is something bad happening down there, and they're in denial.
Very good. Yeah, I agree with you. This is exactly what happened about 10 years ago, and you'll remember this, when I said to the American people, we've uncovered big corporations telling their employees not to say Merry Christmas. Target was one of them. And that's wrong. Mm-hmm. And there was a big campaign, you remember that, which we want.
I do.
Merry Christmas is now acceptable in almost every retail store I know of. At the time, the far left, which hates any kind of Christian reference, said, oh, O'Reilly's making it up. This isn't happening. When we knew we had sound bites from store employees saying, I was told not to say Merry Christmas. And no matter how many times you run the interview, the far left would say, there's no war on Christmas. It's the same thing. There's no threat to the border. This isn't a crisis. Now, what's really interesting are the players. So I did a commentary on BillO'Reilly.com yesterday about the decline of Fox News ratings, which is fairly serious. And I said it's going to hurt President Trump if that continues, because Fox News has been the media that's given him a break. And now their viewership is dropping. Well, last night, Shepard Smith, all right, on the Fox broadcast network, not Fox News Channel, was the first one to say, oh, there's a bunch of bull. There's no problem. You know, he implied, Mr. Smith, that it wasn't a problem at the border. And I'm saying to myself, that's pretty interesting. Because as you pointed out, most people, I do believe, know there's a problem. Is it a crisis? All right, we can debate that. On the other side, CNN, Chris Cuomo says the wall is needed. The liberal Chris Cuomo. I believe he's doing that because he knows that CNN's mired in third place. They're never going to get out of there unless they can expand their audience a little bit. So he's, trying to become a more measured person. But that was an interesting aside to what happened last night.
All right. I think they're deniers. I think we can get them with that term. I'm going to send that to the president. From what you've seen today, is there any movement? Did that address move anybody on the right or the left to a different position, or is everybody set in stone?
No, I think there's going to be some movement, but I was wrong. Before Christmas, I told my audience on BillO'Reilly.com that I thought there would be a compromise and it wouldn't lead to the shutdown before the holidays. So I was wrong about that. But it seems to me that the Democrats run a fairly big risk because the American people, they're not really affected by the government shutdown. So there's no hue and cry right now. So the Democrats are looking fairly unreasonable if they won't compromise. I think the Trump people would drop the money a little bit, but I'm probably the wrong guy to ask here because I was wrong the first time around.
All right, well, let me ask you about this one. And don't insult me now, because I'm the guy who came up with this idea. Believe it or not, in November, I sent a note to the president. I said, you got to declare a national security emergency because I believe you'll never get the money for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And the law says you have a right to declare as president a national security emergency. It's not the best thing. I want Congress to agree. But you do have a right to do it, and then you can grab the $25 billion from the military budget or some other budget. I did send that note to the president. He does appear like it's a possibility. Do you think that's a bad idea, or do you think that might be the only way to get the money?
On paper, it's a good idea because the military budget is approaching $800 billion a year, which is the highest military budget ever. So he can peel off some of that money and give it to the Army Corps of Engineers. In the court of public opinion, it will look like he is being a dictator, and that's how it'll be played in the media. Will that hurt him among independent voters? It might. That's why he's a little bit reluctant to do it. He uses it as a threat. If he becomes exasperated, he might do it. But politically, he's better off if they can find a compromise.
Agreed. If you can get the compromise, agreed. And then you still don't know what the courts will rule. You're going to have to take it to the Supreme Court to see if he has the authority to do it. We'll find out. All right, Bill O'Reilly, thank you for your opinions, your wisdom. Always love it. Always like to hear it. And enjoy having you on. Killing the SS. Great book. Go to your bookstore. Go to Amazon. Get a copy of Killing the SS. What is it, 19 million copies in print of the Killing series?
Yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal. And I appreciate you reading the book and talking about it, Wayne. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your writing, and I'm a Jewish American. It's a very important book that needed to be written. So thank you, Bill O'Reilly.